Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. What if Naruto become a Shinju god of vampire and werewolf? A car pulled up to a cemetery, and a woman named Isabel got out and walked toward the tombstones. Just because you can't be compelled doesn't mean I can't force you to come with me, Isabel said as her biological daughter Elena got out of the car and followed her. So is that what happened? You were compelled to betray Catherine? Elena asked, following after her. If I was, I couldn't tell you, Isabel said. So you lied. You did find Klaus, didn't you? He knows where I am. Now, are you taking me to him? Elena asked before they stopped in front of a headstone. What is this? She asked before she saw that it was Isabel's headstone. My parents, your grandparents. They put it here when it became clear that the police weren't gonna find my body. They visit every week, and they bring flowers, even though there's no one buried here. The Isabel they knew was dead. So maybe there's a part of me that's buried here. The human part, the part that I abandoned when I choose to become a vampire, the part that used to dream about the day that she'd know her daughter. Isabel explained. Elena looked at her as she smiled slightly and asked, what? Isabel shrugged. And instead you got to meet the other part, the part that would betray her own flesh and blood, she said when her phone rung. I have Catherine and the moonstone. Is the doppelganger safe? A man on the phone said as he held the moonstone to eye level while a woman identical to Elena was unconscious on the ground behind him. Yes, Isabel answered. Then let her go. He said, let her go. Isabel asked, Klaus has everything he needs for now. Your part is finished. You did what he compelled you to do. He replied. I'm done. Isabel asked, you're done? The warlock confirmed as Isabel hung up. Who was that? Elena asked. I'm so sorry, Elena, that I was such a disappointment to you. Isabel apologized, before she reached into her pocket and took out a piece of paper and placed in Elena's hand. This is the number, to someone who can protect you better than anyone. Taking a step back, she then took off her necklace and burst into flames. Isabel didn't scream, instead she smiled at Elena before she died as Elena looked shocked. Later, Salvatore boarding house. Elena sat in a chair with the number in her hand, as well as Isabel's necklace wrapped around her other hand, before she pulled out her phone and called the number. Hello. A male voice said, answering. Isabel gave me this number. She said you would be able to protect me better than anyone. Elena said. Elena, where are you now? The voice asked. In Mystic Falls, the Salvatore boarding house. Elena said. I'll be there in an hour. The voice said before he hung up. Elena looked up just as Stefan walked into the room. Atlanta, Georgia. A 18-year-old looking man with spiky blood red hair that was tied in a ponytail that came down to his shoulder blades, with 3 whisker marks on each cheek, and ocean blue eyes, hung up his phone and sighed before he walked out of the bar he was in and made his way to a secluded Lee when someone placed a gun to the back of his head. Run that shit, bitch. Give me yo money, phone, and jewelry, the robber ordered. The man chuckled. You think this a game, nigga? Run that shit, the robber said, cocking his gun, only for his victim to turn around and rip his arm clean off his body before taking a huge bite of his assailant's neck, causing the robber to scream. The man dropped robber after he stopped struggling before he looked up, and his eyes were now amber gold, with the sclera black and veins pulsating on the side of his face. This was Naruto Uzumaki, the god brother of the originals, and husband to Rebecca Mikhailson. I've been on this earth coming close to 2 billion years. After the 4th Shinobi War, one sealed the Shinju into myself, and with the pain that coursed through my body, I blacked out only to awake later, to find that I had killed every chakra user in the world. Riddled with guilt, I retreated up to the moon and watched over the world as it changed. In what the humans have come to call the 10th century. My mother and father were reincarnated, with my mother being a witch, and my father being a werewolf. I put my essence into my mother's womb. And 9 months later I was reborn into the world with my powers and the ability to control when I turned into a wolf. When I was 6, a pack of wolves attacked my family, and I was forced to watch my parents die before I killed the pack of wolves myself. Weeks after the attack, my godmother Esther found me and took me in and raised with her then 5 children. Years passed by. She had another child, who would die at the age of 12 at the hands or claws of wolves, and my douche of a godfather forced her into turning him, his children, and me into vampires, since my wolf gene was known at the time they didn't know that they just created the first hybrid, and my best friend Niklas would soon gain the same power I had, before Esther and her husband sealed it away, and tried to do the same to me, but I managed to overpower them. Centuries have gone by, and I've kept my existence a secret only known to a select few people. I guess it's time to reveal myself to my last human descendant. Mystic Falls. Naruto appeared in a flash in front of the Salvatore boarding house, and sighed before he listened into Elena and a voice he hasn't heard in almost 19 years. I always knew that she and Catherine were close, but I never realized that Isabel and her were working against me. Two of the world's most uncaring and selfish vampires, and yet they were genuinely friends. John said, "If that's what you thought of her, why did you ever put your trust in her at all?" Elena asked. "Because I was there when she gave birth to you, Elena. I saw how heartbroken she was to give you up, and because she was the first girl I ever loved. And when she said she'd help keep you safe, I believed her. At this point, I will do whatever you want me to do. If you feel safer with me not around, then I'll go." John said, "You screw up everything, John. Everything you touch just falls apart. But you're the only parent I have left, so maybe I can learn not to hate you." Elena replied, "Okay." John said before Naruto heard footsteps coming closer to the door, and when they opened he watched as John looked at him in shock and fear. "Hello, John," Naruto said with a smirk, taking a step closer as John backtracked. What are you doing here?" John asked, tripping over furniture as Elena, Stefan, and Damon walked into the parlor to see what was going on. "I was called here, but we'll get to that in a second. Word on the street is, you not only killed Pearl, but you also killed Anna," Naruto said. "How do you know that?" John asked. "I've always been in the good graces of witch spirits," Naruto said with a smile before. He frowned. "So you killed my daughter?" John opened his mouth to speak, only for Naruto to backhand him and his head to fly off his body, making the ring useless. Elena gasped while Damon and Stefan took a step in front of her. As Naruto turned to them and walked toward them, the brothers glanced at each other and nodded before they rushed Naruto, who just threw them aside. "Hello, Elena," Naruto said, standing in front of her as she looked up to him in fear. "So maybe now you can tell me in greater detail why you called me." "You called him?" Damon asked, getting to his feet as Elena nodded. Alaric's apartment. Catherine awoke and saw the man from earlier was casting a spell on someone sitting in a chair, with two vases on the floor beside him. One was full of blood, the other was empty and knocked over on its side. Catherine stood up and saw that Elena's necklace was gone. Alaric Saltzman opened his eyes and got up from the chair, and the man bowed down. "Alaric?" Catherine asked before. She rushed over to the door, but she was trapped. Turning around, she saw Alaric walking toward her. "Strave, Katerina," Alaric said as he took her face in his hands. "I have missed you." Catherine looked at Alaric in shock. "Klaus." She breathed only for him to smile. Salvatore boarding house. Naruto sat across from Elena, listening to her tell him about what's been happening while Stefan and Damon stood behind him watching him. "And that's when I called you," Elena finishing her tale, getting a nod from Naruto. "How do we know we can trust you?" Stefan said, speaking up. "Because I won't hurt you guys unless you give me a reason to. No matter how precious your mother was to me," Naruto said. "What did you say?" Damon asked, stepping forward. "You don't know," Naruto asked. "Your mother was an extremely powerful witch, so strong in fact that she could snap any original's neck with ease. A real force to be reckoned with." Stefan and Damon looked at each other in shock. "How much of your family history do you know?" Naruto asked. "Your mother is the true descendant of the Salvatore name, a family of powerful. She was 10, her parents were killed, and she would have been as well had I, Klaus, and Elijah not come. We took her in and raised her and taught her how to protect herself, even from us. We wanted to turn her, but she refused, as she wanted to have kids of her own. The last time we saw her was the day she gave birth to you, Stefan." Quote, "What about mine?" Elena said as Damon and Stefan took in what they just heard. "You, Mother Miranda and her sister Jenna, were my best friends when I settled down here a while ago. Naruto said, Isabel was my descendant from the child I had with Catherine. What? The three asked in shock, getting a shrug from Naruto next day. Alaric's apartment. Klaus Alari. C opened the closet and took out 2 shirts, while Catherine sat in a chair. Oh. Who is this guy? Safari Sam. He muttered to himself, before he took out 2 shirts and turned to Catherine. Okay, bad or badder? The dark colors suit you better. Catherine said. Oh, thank you, honey. Okay, pop quiz. The dagger and white ash are in the Salvatore's possession, correct? Alaric. Klaus asked. The dagger was used to kill Elijah. You'll find him in the basement of the Salvatore house. Catherine said. Okay, that dagger needs to stay exactly where it is. The last thing I need to do is resurrect Elijah. Oh, that guy is a buzzkill. Klaus. Alaric replied. Don't forget you're on the outs with your girlfriend Jenna. Catherine said. Right, Alina's aunt. For all the lies about Isabel. What else? Klaus. Alaric said. That's it. Catherine replied, only for him to get closer and touch her face while she flinched. Oh, so jumpy. Klaus. Alaric said. Please, just kill me. I've told you everything that I know. Catherine said. You see, I believe that you believe that, but what would you not know? What could they be keeping from you? Anything. Tell me. Klaus. Alaric said, compelling her. They were trying to see if Bonnie could find a way to kill an original without a dagger. Catherine said. Bonnie, the best friend. I thought you said she didn't have her powers anymore. Alaric. Klaus replied. She doesn't or didn't. I don't know. You kidnapped me, remember? I'm kinda out of the loop. Catherine retorted. Klaus. Alaric stood up straight with a sigh before he said. Well, we'll have to get to the bottom of that. Catherine looked ahead as she spoke. Please, just kill me, Klaus, and be done with it. And show you kindness. I've searched for you for over 500 years. Your death is going to last at least half that long. Klaus. Alaric replied before he took a knife out of his pocket. I want you to take this knife and stab yourself. Catherine took the knife and stabbed herself in the thigh, causing her to grunt. Now take it out. He ordered, which she did, and moved the blood out of the way just in time to see the wound heal. Now while I'm gone, I want you to do that over and over and over again, and if you get bored, switch legs. Where are you going? Catherine asked. I'm gonna go lay eyes on my precious doppelganger. Klaus. Alaric said before he kissed her on the forehead. Oh, don't look so glum, Katerina. The fun is just beginning. Again. He ordered, causing Catherine to stab herself again. Salvatore boarding house. Elena and Bonnie were with a lawyer. While Elena was signing papers, please sign here and here. The lawyer said as Elena picked up a pen. Okay, Elena said, so this place is all yours. They just gave it to you. Bonnie asked. For now, as sole owner, I'm the only one who can invite a certain type of person in here, if you know what I mean. Elena said, glancing at the lawyer. Your own personal safe house. Bonnie said. That's the idea. Elena said. Wouldn't want to clean it. Bonnie said, looking around, getting a laugh from Elena. Stefan and Damon were waiting outside. You really think we can trust this Naruto guy? Damon asked. I don't know, but if what he said was true, Mother trusted him. Stefan said. Why do you think he wasn't there to keep her alive? Damon asked. I don't know. Stefan said, looking down. You think Bonnie can take on Klaus? Damon asked, changing the subject. She said she could channel enough witch's power to kill him. Elijah thought that would work, and he was an original, so Stefan trailed off. We just need to find him. Damon said. Yeah, Stefan said. Could she do one of those witch tracking spells? Damon asked. Nope, not without something that belongs to Klaus. Believe me, I already asked. Stefan said. Do you think he killed her? Damon asked after a moment of silence. Catherine. Probably, Stefan said as the brothers looked a little saddened by that thought. It's not like she didn't have it coming. Damon suddenly said when Naruto walked up. What are you guys doing? Naruto asked before they could answer. Elena opened the door, with the lawyer behind her. Thank you, Mr. Henry, she said before he walked off, and Naruto and the others walked to the door. Stefan and Damon stopped, while Naruto walked right in, causing Elena and the others to look at him in shock. You signed the lease over to her. Naruto said in realization. How could you get in? Elena asked. Simple. When you grow up interacting with witch spirits, you gain favor. Witches have rid me of every weakness I have, and being half werewolf and half vampire comes a long way. Naruto said before he turned around and walked deeper into the house only to see Bonnie, who looked up to him speechless. Smiling, Naruto said, "Hello." Hi. Bonnie stuttered with a small blush. "Name's Naruto Uzumaki, and yours is?" Naruto said with his hand held out. "B. Bonnie Bennett." Bonnie said, taking Naruto's hand, and a feeling of power, security, and warmth came over her. Versus the death-like feeling she gets when she comes in contact with other vampires give her. Exchanging smiles, Bonnie was about to speak when Elena and the Salvatores walked in, and Bonnie walked over to Elena and handed her jacket. "Thanks." Elena said. "Wait, where are you going?" Stefan asked. "To school." Elena said. "Huh?" Stefan asked before Damon, who was pouring himself a drink, walked over. No. We didn't create a safe house for you to leave it." Damon said. "Yeah, guys, Klaus is out there." "We know that," Stefan said. "Right, but where? No one knows. Look, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that I'll be safe here, but I'm not going to be a prisoner." Elena replied. Damon looked to Naruto, who was pouring himself a drink. "Want to help us out here? The power flowing off Bonnie should be enough to slow Niklas down, and when I sense her using it, I'll appear and handle him from there." Naruto said. "Don't worry, I'm ready. If he shows his face, I can take him." Bonnie said, getting a nod from Naruto. "The way I see it, at school with Bonnie is the safest place that I can be." "Come on," Elena said before walking out of the house with Bonnie. "Wait, coming," Stefan called out after them. "What kind of vampire goes back to high school?" Naruto asked Damon. "Stefan does," Damon said with a shrug before walking over to Naruto. "So how can we trust that you won't screw us over? Before I met your mother, I used to see humanity as a weakness. Humans are the most pathetic creatures on this planet. They steal, and bully each other. When I met your mother, I saw her crying over her parents' bodies while other vampire moved in to kill her, and I was reminded of myself when wolves killed my parents." Naruto said. "Your mother helped me see that some humans are worth the trouble of putting your life on the line for. I raised, taught, and protected your mother, but I owe her a lot of things. Raising her was probably one of the best things me and the originals did together over the centuries." Damon looked at Naruto for a moment before he glanced at the picture of his mother beside the fireplace. "See ya tomorrow," Naruto said, putting down his empty glass. "Where are you going?" Damon asked. "Klaus is in town, yes, but he's not going to just show up without a plan. Klaus wants Elena, and he won't hurt her till the next full moon," Naruto said before he turned around and walked away, leaving Damon alone. Next day, Naruto was walking down the street when he stopped suddenly and saw Alaric enter the Gilbert house, Isabel's husband. Naruto said to himself, before he suddenly remembered that it was discovered that Klaus had control of Alaric's body, causing him to sigh to himself before he walked across the street to the house and knocks on the door, and he smiled as Jenna opened it and looked at him in shock. Jenna," Naruto greeted. "Oh my god," Jenna said before she squealed in happiness and hugged Naruto. "What are you doing here?" "I decided to move back in town and wanted to see my old friend," Naruto said with a smile, before he looked behind Jenna to see Alaric Klaus in the hallway looking at him in shock and a hint of fear. Jenna, seeing Naruto look at Alaric, said, "Oh Naruto, this is my friend Alaric Saltzman." "Alaric, this is my old friend Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto walked into the house with his hand held out to Alaric. "Klaus, nice to meet you," he said. Alaric Klaus grabbed Naruto's hand and shook it. "Nice to meet you," he said. Naruto gripped the hand tightly, and Alaric Klaus had to keep himself from wincing, likewise. Naruto said before he turned to Jenna, who led him to the kitchen as Alaric Klaus cradled his hand. "Lockwood's house. My father was a wealthy landowner in a village in Eastern Europe. Our mother bore 7 children. Naruto told me this story," Elena said. Elijah looked at Elena in surprise before he asked, "Naruto is here as well?" Getting a nod from Elena. This just got more difficult. He muttered, "What do you mean?" Elena asked, "There is one man that Klaus fears, trusts, admires, and respects. When we were children, Naruto protected and stuck by Klaus' side no matter what. Me, Klaus, and my sister were the only people Naruto truly trusted." "Your sister, Naruto's wife," Elijah said. "Naruto's married, but he had a child with Catherine." "Yes, he told me when I found out about you. Naruto's lust is so strong that one woman can't handle him alone. He was against it from the start, but my sister told him it was okay to have other lovers." "Where is your sister now?" Elena asked. "I need some air. I'm still feeling a tad dead." "Come," Elijah said before Elena followed him out of the room. Alaric's apartment. Catherine was looking through the fridge for some blood bags. Before she heard a voice, using her vamp speed she came to the door to see Damon and his girlfriend Andy Starr. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "We are here to rescue you," Andy said. "No, sweetie, we are here to see if she deserves to be rescued," Damon corrected. "Right," Andy said before entering the house. "I figured you still might be kicking." Alaric Klaus was blending way too easily. Figured he probably had some coaching. Damon said, looking to Catherine. "Did you know that the father of your daughter is also in town?" "Naruto's here?" Catherine asked, shocked. "Yup, he's going to help us take down Klaus. Seems he actually cares about his descendants, unlike you," Damon said before he held up a file. Catherine, seeing the file, asked, "Is that, Vervain, your salvation?" Damon said, "It's not going to undo anything." Catherine replied, "There's always a loophole. Did he tell you to stay in this apartment until he said it was okay to leave?" Damon retorted. Catherine opened her mouth to speak but couldn't. "You can't say." "Did he tell you to do absolutely everything he says until the end of time?" he asked. "No," Catherine said. "There's your loophole. Drink this and it'll prevent any further compulsion." Damon replied before she came over to take it, but he didn't give it to her. "Give it to me," Catherine said. "Answer one question first. You double-crossed us with Isabel. Why?" Damon asked. "I didn't think you could stand a chance against Klaus, so I was looking out for myself." "And where did that get you?" "Here," Damon said before he threw her the file. "Be careful with that. If he finds out you have that, you're never getting out of here." Catherine sighed before she took a sip and started to cough. "You owe me. And I will collect," Damon said before he looked at Andy. "Come on." "Nice to meet you," Andy said, closing the door behind her. Gilbert house. Naruto sat beside Jenna as Stefan, who arrived a couple of moments ago, stood behind them. "Why?" Klaus. Alaric was chopping some food with a big knife. "You know, I find chopping calming. The feel of the blade in the hand. I'm still waiting for someone to tell me what the hell's going on." Nna said, looking from Alaric Klaus to Stefan while Naruto held her hand to calm her down, which worked. Klaus. Alaric looked to Jenna before he turned to Stefan and asked, "Well, would you like to tell her, Stefan, or should I?" "Tell me what?" Jenna asked. "Do you believe in vampires, Jenna?" "No," Alaric Klaus asked before he chuckled. "Well, who does, right? But believe it or not, they do have a place in our history. And as a history teacher, I find them fascinating." "Why are we talking about this?" Jenna asked. "Well, you've been angry with me for keeping secrets, and this is one of my secrets. I'm obsessed with vampires." "There, I said it," Alaric Klaus said. "Are you joking?" Jenna asked. "Not at all. How about you, Stefan, Naruto? Are you a fan of vampires?" Alaric Klaus asked. "In literature, Bram Stoker. It's dense, but I appreciate it," Naruto said, getting a nod from Stefan. Did you know that vampires are the oldest creatures of the night? Except for werewolves, of course," Alaric Klaus replied. "Werewolves. Werewolves. Now I know you're joking." Jenna scoffed before she reached over for a bottle of wine. "You know, I've read that there's an Aztec curse on both species that keeps werewolves slaves to the moon and vampires bound by the sun. Isn't that right, Stefan? You know, they say these creatures would do anything to have this curse broken and that they wouldn't care who they had to kill to do it," Alaric Klaus said, looking from Naruto to Stefan. "You know, I read the same thing, but a true fan of the supernatural would know that the Aztec curse was fake." Naruto said, Eking up getting a surprised look from Stefan. You see, the true curse is only on a vampire. The curse keeps his true self suppressed and he wants it gone to know what it feels like to walk beside the person he betrayed that thought of him as a brother. Alaric Klaus looked away from Naruto, who glared at him slightly. 30 minutes later, Klaus, Alaric, Jenna, Naruto, and Stefan were now sitting at the table with plates in front of them. Oh, I know this all sounds so crazy, but vampires are real. Would you care for some more wine? Klaus, Alaric asked as he got up for a bottle of wine. Get out, Jenna suddenly said. Excuse me, Klaus, Alaric asked. I don't know what it is you're trying to do or why you're saying these things, but Jenna trailed off. Jenna, Klaus, Alaric started. I said get out, Jenna shouted, causing Naruto and Stefan to stand up. You heard her, Naruto said. I'm afraid I don't want to, Klaus, Alaric replied, looking at Naruto challengingly. Fine, I'll go, Jenna said, getting up only for Klaus, Alaric to pick up the knife and step toward her threateningly. You're not going anywhere, he said, only for Naruto to punch him in the jaw and kick him with a roundhouse that sent him into the wall. While Naruto picked up the knife and held it at Alaric Klaus's throat. Friedini Glai. Naruto, Jenna shouted in shock. Jenna, get out of here now, Naruto said. You can't kill me, Naruto, Alaric Klaus replied. But I can make you suffer, Naruto said as his face changed. Naruto, Jenna shouted. Stefan, get her out of here now, Naruto shouted, looking at them, allowing for Jenna to see his face, causing her gasp before Stefan grabbed her and sped off. You know you won't bite me, Klaus, Alaric said. We're best friends. Really, Naruto said with a chuckle. So best friends snaps each other's neck and dump the other's body on a ship headed for Tokyo, leaving the other to wake up and last see his wife in 1919. It as for the best, Klaus, Alaric said. Where is Rebecca, Naruto sked, dropping the knife before letting his hand blow a whitish haze that Alaric Klaus noticed as Naruto getting ready to use his human path. You wouldn't, Alaric Klaus said, looking at the hand fearfully. I would, Naruto said, and just as he was about to grab Klaus, Alaric's head, he jumped out of the way as a stake that would have pierced his head impaled the wall, causing him to look and see Klaus's warlock. It's been fun, Naruto, but I'll see you later, Alaric Klaus said before he left, leaving the warlock with Naruto. Naruto looked over his shoulder and saw witch spirits nodding to him. He has betrayed everything his family stood for. Kill him, they said before vanishing. Naruto looked at the warlock and smirked before he allowed his face to change, and he rushed the warlock, who attempted to use his magic to induce an aneurysm, only it to not work, and his head was separated from his shoulders before his body was pulled away into the backyard and up into the air. What the hell is that? Naruto asked himself, looking into the sky before he walked out of the house. Lockwood's mansion. Klaus, Naruto, and I faked the sun and moon curse dating back over 1,000 years, Elijah said as he and Elena walked in the backyard. But if there's no curse, Elena started. There's a curse, just not that one. The real one's much worse. It's a curse placed on Klaus, Elijah interrupted as Elena's phone started to vibrate. What are you talking about? Elena asked. Klaus has been trying to break it for the last 1,000 years. And you are his only hope, Elijah said. What is this curse? Elena asked as the phone was still vibrating. Your phone will not stop its incessant buzzing. Answer it, please, Elijah said, handing her her phone. Elena took the phone and answered it. Stefan, what's wrong? No. Okay, I'll be right there. She hung up and looked at Elijah. Klaus went after Jenna. I have to go to her. I'm afraid that wasn't part of today's arrangement, Elijah said. She's my family, Elijah. I have to. I'll be back. You have my word, Elena replied. That doesn't mean anything to me until you live up to it, Elijah said before watching as Elena ran off. 1 hour later, Salvatore boarding house. Naruto entered the library silently to see Jenna sitting on the couch, scared. Jenna, he called. Gasping, Jenna stood up and turned around. When she saw Naruto, she looked at him fearfully and backed up into a corner. Stay away from me, Jenna ordered. Naruto walked closer with his hands up and an amused smile on his face. Jenna, I've known you since you were 5. I'm sure if I wanted to hurt you, I'm sure in the 25 years we've known each other I would have did it already, he said, causing Jenna to think about it before she nodded and walked over to him a little hesitantly. Those stories you used to tell me when you and Miranda were going out were true? Jenna asked, getting a nod from Naruto. You're one of them, but how I've seen you grow older. My mother was a powerful witch, and when I was turned, I made a pact with witch spirits that would allow me to keep my magic. Naruto said. Can I see? Jenna asked, looking at Naruto's face. Naruto nodded before he allowed for his hybrid features to appear. Jenna gasped slightly as she watched Naruto's eyes turn amber, yellow, and veins protrude on the side of his face. Reaching up, she touched Naruto's face before Naruto reached up and gripped her hand gently. I will protect you. You have nothing to fear in this world. Jenna smiled before Elena entered the library, causing them to look at her before Naruto stood up and kissed Jenna's forehead and walked out of the library, closing the door behind him. Moments later, Stefan was in the corridor, listening to Jenna and Elena, with tears in his eyes, when Elena walked out and closed the door. Is she gonna be okay? He asked. She's in shock. I tried to tell her as much as I could, but I barely scratched the surface. Elena said. I'm so sorry, Elena. I hate this. Stefan replied. It's not your fault, Stefan, it's mine. Anyway, I have to go back to Elijah. Elena said. Wait, what? No, Stefan said vehemently. Stefan, I promised him that I would return. I can't break that promise. Elena replied. Oh, Stefan said after a moment and nodded. I'll be okay. Elena replied with a smile before she moved toward the front door, but Damon and Andy appeared and walked toward them. Where do you think you're going? Damon asked. Back to Elijah. Elena answered. Damon vamp sped and stood in front of her. No. Get out of my way. Damn, Elena started, but Damon grabbed her arm. If you so much as try and take a step out of this house, Damon started, but Naruto appeared and grabbed his wrist tightly. Let her go, Naruto said. Are you kidding me? We just got her back, Damon said, looking to Naruto. She can make her own decisions. If she wants to go back to Elijah, then she'll go back to Elijah. So you're going to remove your hand from her arm, or I'm going to rip it off of your body and beat you to death with it. The nonchalant way Naruto spoke unnerved everyone, before Damon slowly released Elena. Good. Naruto smiled before he turned to Elena. You be careful, Elijah is a man of his word, and he could be trusted, but make sure when you make a deal with him, make sure it's beneficial to both of you. Elena nodded before she looked back to the library. I'll look after Jenna, Naruto said, seeing the look. Elena smiled at Naruto before she walked out of the house. Alaric's apartment. Catherine was playing the music loudly, drinking and dancing, when she suddenly heard someone at the door and sped onto the couch. When Klaus Alaric entered to see Catherine sitting down. You mind turning that down? Catherine turned down the music. Why so grumpy? She asked. Well, this body has outlived its usefulness, Alaric, Klaus said, especially with my stronger, faster, revenge-driven hybrid of a god brother in town, looking to rip my soul from my body. Do you want a drink? Catherine asked. Klaus Alaric turned to her and said, No, Katerina, I don't want a drink. Catherine got up with the bottle and said, Come on. It might loosen you up. Klaus Alaric snadc had the bottle and threw it against a wall and compelled her. What I want is for you to sit down and shut up. Catherine sat down and remained quiet as Klaus Alaric walked to the door when someone knocked and opened it, letting two men enter with luggage. As a girl entered, Greta. Finally, he said, Hello, love, nice body. You ready to get out of it? Greta asked as Catherine watched the two men enter with a large box. Lockwood's mansion. Elena entered to see Elijah standing in front of the fireplace. Welcome back, Elijah said without turning around. Tell me, what is Klaus' curse? Elena asked, picking up where they left off. Please, Elena said, gesturing for Elena to sit, which she does, before he sat down next to her. My family was quite close, but Klaus, Naruto and my father did not get on too well. When we became vampires, we discovered the truth. Klaus was not my father's son. My mother had been unfaithful many years before. This was her darkest secret. Klaus is from a different bloodline. Of course, When my father discovered this, he hunted down and he killed my mother's lover and his entire family. Not realizing, of course, that he was igniting a war between species that rages until this day. A war between the species? Elena asked. The vampires and the werewolves. Elijah said, so Klaus' real father was from a werewolf bloodline. What does that make Klaus? A werewolf or a vampire? Elena asked. He's both, just like Naruto, whose father was a direct descendant of the first werewolf. A hybrid would be deadlier than any werewolf or vampire. Nature would not stand for such an imbalance of power. Therefore the witches, the servants of nature, saw to it that my brother's werewolf side would become dormant. Wait, but Naruto's a hybrid. Elena said. Yes, the witches didn't seal his side away because they couldn't. He was stronger than them, and he was their ally. The witches had watched him grow from when he was just a baby, and grew fond of him, and when he completed his transition, he made a pact with them. He would kill any witch that betrays their family's principles, when ordered to, and any vampire looking to abuse a witch will be killed swiftly after that. Elijah said. For 1,000 years Naruto has done this, and was given the moniker the Red Death, nature's demon. So this curse, the one placed on Klaus, is that the one he wants to break? She asked. He wants to trigger that part of him that's a werewolf. If allowed, Klaus would go on to sire his own bloodline. He'd build a race of hybrids, endangering not just vampires, but everyone. Why hasn't Naruto done this? Part of the pact, he's not allowed to turn werewolves into hybrids without a good reason. A good reason? His love for the werewolf species died with his father. I helped Niklas because I loved him. That's changed, now he must die. Elijah said, staring the conversation back to Klaus. We have the dagger now. We can stop him. Elena replied. When a werewolf is wounded by silver, it heals. An original can't be killed by anything but white oak ash on a silver dagger. So you see the conundrum. The dagger does not work. Elijah replied, standing up. What, are you saying that Klaus can't be killed? Elena asked. Naruto can do it, but he will never kill us no matter what. But there is another way to kill any supernatural species, at the hands of the servants of nature themselves. A witch, if they can channel that much power. But it would kill them. Elena said. The curse must be broken during the full moon. When Klaus is in transition, that's when he'll be at his most vulnerable. A witch with enough power can kill Klaus. Elijah replied. What if I told you that I knew a witch that could channel that much power? Elena asked. Then I would tell you there's one more thing that you should know. In 1492, I got in contact with Naruto, and had him use one of his many abilities to create something that would resurrect the doppelganger. Elijah said. You both found a way to save the life of the doppelganger? Elena asked in shock. Yes, Elena, I did, but unfortunately, Katerina took matters into her own hands first. I believe you already know how that played out. Elijah said. You cared about her, didn't you? Elena asked. It's a common mistake, I'm told. And it's one I won't make again. Elijah said. Salvatore's house. Naruto was with Jenna, telling her about his many adventures and what it was like to be the strongest person on the planet. Do you miss it? Jenna asked. What? Naruto asked. Being human, or just a werewolf in your case? Rarely, Naruto said honestly. Is it easier? Jenna asked. Naruto looked at her and said. When you're a vampire, you feel like you could do anything. Be anyone. Beautiful things are more beautiful. Everything's heightened, you know. Just a little bit more intensely, love more powerfully. Anger becomes rage. When you're sad, you're in despair. Grief, loss, it can cripple you. That's why so many turn their emotions off. It just becomes too overwhelming. Jenna nodded. Have you ever turned anyone? She asked. Naruto smiled, slightly glad that he put a silencing seal on the room. Yes, as a hybrid I'm still able to have kids. I've turned 2 of my daughters, and 2 of my lovers. Naruto said, thinking about Nadia, Anna, Pearl, and Lexi. Where are they now? Jenna asked. My daughter Nadia is in London right now. Anna and Pearl were killed by John. Lexi was killed by Damon. Naruto said with a frown. I'm sorry. Jenna said. It's all right. Naruto said before he and Jenna looked up as the sound of Somethi Ing smashing to pieces was heard. Stay here. Naruto said before he got up and walked toward the sound as he heard Elena shout, "Stop." Entering the room, Naruto saw the back of Elijah's head. "Elijah?" he asked. Elijah turned around to see his god brother and he smiled before he and Naruto hugged each other, patting each other's backs as they smiled. "Still into wearing suits, I see," Naruto said, pulling away with a smile. "Still into jackets," Elijah said, looking at Naruto's leather jacket that had the Uzumaki swirl on it. "Now you've invited him in," Damon said, suddenly getting everyone's attention as he glared slightly at Elena. "Elijah and I have renewed the terms of our deal," Elena said. "Really?" Damon asked. Elijah walked forward a little. "The two of you will come to no harm at my hands. I only asked for one thing in return." "What?" Damon asked. "An apology," Elijah said. "A what?" Damon asked in stunned before Stefan walked closer to Elijah and Elena. "I'm sorry for the part that I played in your death. I was protecting Elena. I will always protect Elena," Stefan said. "I understand," Elijah replied, seeing a bit of himself in Stefan. Elena looked at Damon, who was just standing there. "The sacrifice is going to happen, Damon. Bonnie will be able to kill Klaus without hurting herself, and Elijah knows how to save my life. I told you I'd find another way. And I did," she said. "Is that true?" Damon asked, looking to Elijah. "It is," Elijah said before Damon looked at Elena. "And you're trusting him?" Damon asked. "I am," Elena said. "You can all go to hell," Damon hissed before he walked off as Stefan looked at Elijah. "He's angry with me right now. But he'll come around," Stefan said. "Perhaps, but he is just like Giuseppe," Elijah said, while Damon, who was listening, stopped for a moment before he continued walking forward and entered his bedroom. Alaric's apartment. Kneeling in front of the box, Greta was casting a spell with candles all around her, as Klaus Alaric was standing next to the box. Catherine was looking at her. When Greta suddenly stopped and looked at Alaric, who opened his eyes and looked at Catherine. "Elena?" he asked before he collapsed. Greta opened the box, and Klaus walked out of it and looked at Alaric. "Now that's more like it," Klaus said with a smile. Salvatore's house. Damon was in his bed using his vamp hearing to listen to Elijah and Naruto's conversation with Elena and Stefan before he got up and started to get dressed so he could join them. "Tonight is the full moon. We should assume that Klaus is prepared to break the curse," Elijah said. "Naruto's aid that the sun and the moon curse is fake. That it's actually just a curse placed on Klaus," Stefan said. "Like me, Niklaus is a vampire born of a werewolf bloodline. The curse has kept his werewolf aspect from manifesting. But if he breaks it, he, like me, will be a true hybrid," Naruto replied before Damon walked in. "Then why are we letting him break the curse? We can kill him today. With Bonnie," Damon said, looking to Elena. "Damon," Stefan started. "No, Bonnie can't use that much power without dying," Elena said. "I'll write her a great eulogy," Damon replied. "It's not an auction, Damon," Elena said, causing him to sigh. "All right. How do we break this curse?" Stefan asked. "Well, the ritual itself is relatively straightforward. The ingredients, so to speak, you already know," Naruto said. "The moonstone," Stefan spoke. "A witch will channel the power of the full moon to release the spell that's bound within the stone. After that, Klaus, being both werewolf and vampire, will sacrifice one of each." Elijah jumped in. "And where do I fit into it?" Elena asked. "The final part of the ritual," Elijah said as he looked to Naruto, who stepped forward. Damon, Elena, and Stefan watched as Naruto brought a hand up. And in a flash of white a fruit appeared in his hand with a kanji written on it. "What is that?" Stefan asked. "Why does that say resurrection?" Elena asked, getting everyone's attention. "You can read kanjis?" Damon asked. "As my descendant, her brain is hardwired for each and every language. It's a gift," Naruto said before he held up the fruit. "Using an ability I gained, I created this fruit so that when you eat it, you'll be able to come back from the dead only once. To truly break the curse, Klaus must drink your blood, to the point of your death." Damon looked at Elena, as Stefan took Elena's hand, as she looked at Naruto before taking the fruit. "So I'll be dead?" Elena asked. "And then you won't," Elijah said. "That's your plan, a magical fruit with no expiration date?" Damo N asked before he looked back to Elena. You want to come back to life. What about John's ring? The ring won't work on her. Naruto said, getting their attention. Doppelgangers are a supernatural occurrence that appears every century till the original version is dead. Original version? Elena asked. The first version of you. Naruto clarified. Wait, so there is another person out there that looks like me and Catherine? Elena asked. A much older version, yes. Doppelgangers are versions of a person that has gained true immortality. It's nature's way of creating versions of the immortal that could die. And they appear every century till the original is no longer immortal. Naruto said. Damon looked back to Elena, who was taking in the info she just learned, and asked, what if it doesn't work, Elena? Then I guess I'll just be dead, Elena said, causing Damon to look at Stefan, who shrugged before he looked to Elijah and Naruto and walked off. Do we know if Klaus has everything he needs to do this? Does he have a werewolf? Elena asked. Klaus has been waiting to break this curse for over 1,000 years. If he doesn't already have a werewolf, my guess is by tonight, he will. Elijah said. Lockwood's mansion. Carol was on the stairs, leaving a voicemail to Tyler. Tyler, honey. It's your mother. I don't know where you are, but I need you. I've had an accident and I'm in the hospital, she said as she walked upstairs to face Greta. Please, Tyler, come home. She hung up and looked at Greta. Why did I say that? Because you had a terrible fall, Greta said before a swing of her hand sent Carol flying down the stairs unconscious. Salvatore's house. Damon was outside, drinking scotch, when Stefan joined him. Breakfast of champions, huh? He asked. Damon took a sip and said, I'm surrounded by idiots. I need all the help I can get. You know, you're not helping, Stefan said. Elijah is an original vampire, Stefan. One we tried to kill, and Naruto may have known our mother, but he grew up with these people. They are more of his family than Elena. Re going to believe these people? What do you want me to do, Damon? Elena made her decision. She's choosing to trust Naruto and Elijah. I'm going to put my faith in her. Why? She's going to end up dead, Damon replied. Because she put her faith in me. She chose to trust me in spite of what I am. I'm going to bet on somebody's instincts. It's going to be hers, Stefan said. Well, then, that makes you the biggest idiot of them all, Damon retorted. She chose to trust you, too, Stefan said. Then maybe you shouldn't be so sure about her instincts. Damon snorted before he finished his drink and walked off. Inside, Elena rejoined Elijah and Naruto in the library as they were speaking to each other. When they turned to her, you'd think he'd understand why I'm willing to do this. Why are you? Naruto asked. I'm the key to breaking the curse. Klaus is here because of me. If I don't stop him, then he's going to hurt people. It's that simple, Elena said before they heard shouting. Hallway. Get out, Jenna said, aiming a crossbow at Alaric's head. Jenna. Alaric said with his hands held up. Get out, Jenna shouted. Jenna, put the crossbow down. Okay, it's me, Alaric pleaded, attempting to step forward. Stay away from me, Jenna said as everyone walked over to them. What's going on? Elena asked. It's me, Elena, I swear. Okay. He let me go. Klaus let me go, Alaric said, looking to Elena. Prove it, Damon said. Alaric looked from Damon to Jenna. Okay, first night you and I spent together, Jeremy walked in right when I was about to. Okay, it's him, Jenna interrupted him, putting the crossbow down. Naruto walked over and took it from her hand. Seems you're still a little freak, he said jokingly to her, ousing her to blush before she punched him lightly. Why did he let you go? Stefan asked. He wanted me to deliver a message. The sacrifice happens tonight, Alaric said, looking to Elena along with everyone else. Mystic Falls Hospital. Carol woke up in her hospital bed to see Tyler looking out the window. Tyler, she asked. Tyler turned around and looked at her and said, Mom, before he kissed her on the forehead. You're back, Carol said, smiling in joy. I'm back. Tyler nodded. Salvatore's house. Alaric, Jenna, Elena, Stefan, Naruto and Elijah were in the living room. So you don't remember anything that happened? No, it's like I blacked out and woke up 3 days later. Catherine was there, Alaric said. She's under compulsion. Damon snuck her some vervain, but she can't leave until Klaus tells her she can. Stefan replied. Elena looked around and asked, "Where is Damon?" "I saw him go upstairs," Jenna said before she got up and walked off. "So what else did I do?" Alaric asked. "Damon's room." Elena joined Damon in his bedroom. "You disappeared," she said. "I don't want to hear any more." Damon said with his back to her. "I need you to understand why I'm doing this." Elena said. "Why? It clearly doesn't matter what I think." Damon replied. "I'll be fine, Damon. I'll eat the fruit. Bonnie will kill Klaus and then all of this will finally be over." Elena said. "If it works." Damon retorted. "It will work." Elena said. "You think it will work? You want it to work. Why am I the only one who's convinced it won't? There has to be another way." Damon replied. "There isn't," Elena said, shaking her head. "And you're going to die, Elena." Damon replied. "And then I'll come back to life." Elena retorted. "That is not a risk I'm willing to take." Damon said. "But I am," Elena retorted before she took his hand. "It's my life, Damon. My choice. Quote, I can't lose you," Damon said softly. "You won't," Elena replied before she walked to the door while Damon looked down before he looked up and sped around her. "There is another way," Damon said. "What are you?" Elena started but stopped as she saw Damon vamp out and bite his wrist. "Damon, no." Damon put his wrist to Elena's mouth and forced her to drink his blood. Before Stefan sped in and pushed Damon away from Elena, who fell to the floor, with blood in her mouth. "What did you do?" "Huh, what did you do?" Stefan shouted before he checked on Elena. "I saved her life," Damon said before he looked at Elena. "You're so bent on dying, at least this way I know you'll come back." Stefan stood up and said, "As a vampire. She'll come back a vampire. It's better than nothing else." Damon replied. "How could you, of all people, take that choice away from her?" Stefan asked. Damon, ignoring Stefan, looked at Elena. "Go ahead, wish me an eternity of misery. Believe me, you'll get over it." Stefan rushed over to Damon and pushed him into a way, destroying Damon's desk. "Stefan," Elena yelled as Damon grabbed a wooden stick and pushed Stefan against a wall with it. "Admit it, you just wish you had the balls to do it yourself," Damon growled. Stefan growled before he punched Damon in the face. Damon attempted to return the favor, but Stefan parried the blow and hit Damon in the face several times in a row. Damon fell to the floor, blood on his face, before he saw Stefan about to punch him again, so acting quickly he took the wooden stick and drove it through Stefan's abdomen. Before Elena rushed over to Stefan and pushed Damon away from him. "Get out of here," Elena yelled before Alaric and Jenna arrived. "What the hell's going on?" Alaric asked. "Get him out of here," Elena shouted. Alaric walked over to Damon and grabbed his arm, but Damon pushed him away and got up and left. "Oh, my God," Jenna said. "Okay, Jenna, downstairs are some blood bags. Go get them now, go," Alaric ordered, causing Jenna to walk away as Elena removed the stick downstairs. Damon walked into the library to pour himself a drink, to see Naruto and Elijah there watching him. "Hope you're proud of yourself. You just lost her trust. We both know that fruit wouldn't have worked anyway," Damon retorted, pouring himself a drink. "The problem, Damon, you talk a good game but you don't actually know anything. Just like your father," Naruto said, causing Damon to put his drink down. "I am nothing like that man," Damon shouted. "Your selfish actions just now says the opposite," Naruto sighed before he walked up to him. "I really should kill you for what you just did, but I won't. Because if the fruit doesn't work, and she comes back as a vampire, she'll hate you forever, and if there's on thing I know my descendants are able to do is hold a grudge." Naruto finished before he walked upstairs. Stefan's room. Stefan, Elena, Jenna and Alaric are now in Stefan's bedroom. Stefan, who just finished drinking a blood bag, looked to Jenna. "Thank you. Both of you." "Yeah, well, we'll be downstairs," Alaric said before he and Jenna left the room. "I know it's a lot to take in." "Yeah," Jenna said as they walked into the corridor. "I tried to protect you from all this, but I should have known you could handle it," Alaric replied. "Can I?" Jenna asked. "Well, you just did." "Look, Jenna, I know we have a lot to talk about," Alaric said. "Hey, I'm glad you're okay. I should have said that already," Jenna said before she kissed him. Wow, Naruto said, looking at them, causing them to break apart. Naruto, Jenna started. You're an adult, Jenna. Naruto said before he looked to Alaric. You break her heart again, I'll rip yours out and feed it to you. Naruto smiled cheerfully before he made his way to Stefan's bedroom and heard. How could he do that to me? Why? Elena asked. Hey, we've never talked about this. What this all means? Stefan said. It doesn't matter. Elena replied. Of course it matters. Hey, it matters. I want you to go somewhere with me. Stefan retorted. Stefan, I can't. Elena said. No, it's not far, okay. It's just for the day. I promise. Stefan said before Naruto entered. Well, that's fine, but we have to do something first. Naruto said. Elena, come with me. Elena and Stefan stood up and made their way to the door, just Elena. Naruto said, looking at Stefan, who nodded as Elena and Naruto walked off. Backyard. Naruto and Elena were away from the house where they couldn't be seen. Give me your hand. Naruto said. What are you doing? Elena asked, giving Naruto her hand. This is going to hurt for a while. Naruto said before he bit her wrist. What the? Elena said as Naruto pulled her wrist back from his mouth, before he placed his hand over the WOU. ND and Elena saw bulges under her skin moving toward Naruto's hand. What are you doing? Removing the vampire blood from your system. Naruto said before he brought his hand up, and black blood followed it. Why is it black? Elena asked. So that I know that I'm not taking your blood. Naruto said before he allowed the blood to fall onto the dirt, and Elena watched as her wound healed. How did I heal? She asked. My presence here is awakening the abilities that you were supposed to grow up with. Naruto said before he looked her in the eye and compelled her. You won't remember me removing the vampire blood from your system until the sacrifice is over. The whole time we were out here I told you about my desire to protect you. Naruto watched as Elena nodded before she smiled at him and walked away. Mystic Falls Hospital. Carol was sleeping, while Tyler was watching her and went out into the hallway and ran into his werewolf friend Jules. What are you doing here? He asked. I should be asking you that. I told you not to come. Jules said. She's my mother. I had to. Tyler replied. Now we have to get out of here. Lock ourselves up before tonight. Jules said before she looped her arm into his and they walked out into the parking lot where they ran into Caroline, causing her to look at them in surprise. Tyler, Jules, Caroline said, I'll give you a few minutes. Jules said, just a few, Tyler. I got it, Tyler said before Jules walked away and Tyler turned to Caroline. She's just making sure I'm safe. So what, are you two, like, friends now? Caroline asked. She's been helping me. How are you? Tyler asked. I heard about your mom. I just came to check in on her. Caroline said. She's banged up, but she'll be okay. Tyler replied. And you, how's everything with you? Caroline asked. I'm hanging in there. Tyler said. Good. Caroline nodded. Yeah, I should get going. Jules and I need to get on the road. Tyler said before he made to leave. Caroline turned towards him and asked. You're leaving again? Tyler stopped and turned back toward her and made to speak only for him, and Caroline to groan in pain, clutching their head as Greta walked out from behind a car. When the two went unconscious, she injected Caroline with vervain, before she had some men who were compelled by Klaus earlier to take the two. Mystic Grill. Matt was leaving a voicemail to Caroline. Hey, Caroline, it's me. I thought you were coming back to meet me. Look, I need to talk to you. It's important. He hung up and saw Damon walking toward the bar. Alaric entered and walked over to Damon. Just ordered a drink and said to the bartender, I'll have the same. Damon, looking down, said, I screwed up. Yeah, you did, Alaric said with a nod. Gentlemen, why so glum? A voice asked Cow. Sing Alaric and Damon to look toward the voice to see that it was Klaus. Klaus, I presume. Damon groaned. In the flesh, Klaus said before he looked to Alaric. Thanks for the loner, mate. Damo. N stood up. Any reason you stopped by to say hi? I'm told you and your brother fancy my doppelganger. Just thought I'd remind you to not do anything you'll regret. Klaus said. Thanks for the advice. I don't suppose I could talk you into a postponement, by any chance, huh? Damon replied. You are kidding, Klaus asked before he looked to Alaric. He is kidding, right? No, not really, Alaric said. I mean, come on. What's 1 month in the whole grand scheme of things? Damon asked. Let me be clear. I have my vampire. I have my werewolf. I have everything I need. The ritual will happen tonight. So if you want to live to see tomorrow, don't screw it up. Klaus said before he walked off. Damon sighed and sat down. That was fun. You're going to screw it up, aren't you? Alaric asked. Why? Oh, you think if I took his werewolf out of the equation, she might get over the fact that I tried to turn her into a vampire? Damon asked, looking at Alaric. I think it won't matter, because you'll be dead. Alaric said. But without the werewolf, he can't perform the ritual tonight, which means I would have bought her 1 month before the next full moon, and you'll still be dead. Alaric retorted. Are you gonna help me or what? Damon asked. What do you want me to do? Alaric asked. Alaric's apartment. Catherine was looking for a blood bag in the fridge, unaware that Naruto appeared behind her in a kamui, looking for one of these. Catherine jumped and turned to see Naruto holding up a blood bag. Naruto, Catherine said, looking at him in shock. It's been a while, Naruto said, placing the blood bag on the counter. I thought you were dead, Catherine said as Naruto stood in front of her. And what about our daughter? Naruto asked. Did you search for her? When I got the chance, Catherine said. Is she a vampire? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Catherine. Yeah. She wants to meet you, but she has to finish the business she has with the travelers first. You let her get involved with the travelers? Catherine asked. Our daughter is very stubborn, and when we found out that they had a plan concerning the doppelganger, she wanted to know how it would affect you. Naruto said with a shrug. Can you help me get my freedom, my Klaus? Catherine asked. Yeah, I'll help you. Give Klaus something he wants more than your life, and you'll get your freedom. Naruto said. What does he want, more than my head on a platter? Catherine asked. His name is Michael. You find him, and have a human dagger him, and deliver him to Klaus. You'll earn your freedom. Naruto said, handing her a dagger and a vial of white oak ash. Where do I find him? Catherine asked. That I'll leave up to you, Naruto said before he kissed Catherine passionately and vanished in a flash. Catherine stood there trying to catch her breath before she heard the sound of a key in a lock, before she sped to the door to see Alaric. Look who's dumb enough to come back. Well, somebody had to invite him in. Damon, would you like to come in? Alaric said before Damon walked around a corner and walked into the apartment. Later, Catherine was making coffee. When Klaus arrived, everything okay? She asked as Klaus looked at her suspiciously. What have you been doing? Klaus asked. Making coffee. Do you want some? Catherine offered before Klaus rushed over and grabbed her neck and compelled her. Tell me what you've been doing. Making coffee, Catherine croaked out, as Klaus looked into her eyes, before he released her and she turned around holding her neck. Wait, Klaus said, causing her to stop and turn back to him. Take off your bracelet. Hesitantly, Catherine took it off and gave it to him. Now, I want you to walk over to the window and stand in the sunlight. But I'll burn, Catherine said. You don't have a choice, Klaus replied before Catherine walked over to the sunlight and immediately started to burn, causing her to scream, as Klaus sipped the coffee before he looked at her with a smile. She continued to scream. That's enough. Immediately Catherine rushed out of the sunlight and crashed into a wall, breathing heavily as her skin healed. Guess I was wrong. Klaus shrugged before he walked over into the sunlight and crouched down before her. All right, then. I need you to do something for me. The tomb. Damon arrived at the tomb, before he stopped and looked around when suddenly a gunshot sounded off, hitting the tree next to him. Turning around, Damon saw Matt standing there with a shotgun aimed at him. Where's Caroline? He asked. Listen, man, not a good time to play the hero, Damon said with his hands in the air. Where is she, and what did you do to her? Matt asked. Damon walked forward cautiously with his hands still in the air. I'm just here to rescue her, he said, before he suddenly rushed forward and snatched the gun from Matt, before he smacked him in the face with it, knocking Matt unconscious. Damon then started to unload the shotgun. You're lucky I already screwed up once today or you'd be dead, quote. Damon paused and crouched down and picked up a bullet to see it was made of wood. Inside, Tyler and Caroline were looking at each other chained up. The whole sun and moon curse is fake. That's what we learned. Klaus still needs to do the sacrifice, but it's just not for that. Caroline said, and you think that's why she grabbed us? For the sacrifice. Tyler said, yes. Caroline answered, he's going to kill us. Tyler asked, I think so. Yes. Caroline said sadly, this whole time I've been gone, Jules has been helping me come to terms with what I am. How to deal with it? I guess none of it matters anymore. Why didn't you say goodbye? You just left. Caroline asked, you want to talk about this now? Tyler asked, well, if we're going to die, I might as well know the truth. Why did you leave me? Caroline asked, I knew you hated me. I thought you deserved better than having someone like me in your life. Tyler said, I was hurt. You know, you turned your back on me when I needed you. But I could never hate you, Tyler. Caroline replied, causing Tyler to smile, before they heard the door of the tomb open and looked to see Damon. Damon, Caroline asked as he walked toward her. Your boyfriend's outside with a rifle loaded with wooden bullets. You have some explaining to do. Damon said as he broke the chains. What, Matt? Caroline asked. Matt knows about you. Tyler asked. No, Caroline started. Shish, tomorrow's problem. Damon interrupted before he helped her get up. Let me just get you out of here. Wait, Damon, no, I'm not leaving without him. Caroline said. Oh. Damon sighed before he looked to Tyler. It's getting dark soon. How fast can you get the hell away from here? I need to get to my family's cellar. I can lock myself up. Tyler said. I'll help. Caroline offered before Damon walked over to Tyler and crouched in front of him. Don't make me regret this. Damon warned before he broke Tyler's chain before they went outside to see that it was already dark, and Caroline saw Matt on the ground waking up and rushed over to him. Hey, Matt. She said before she looked over to Damon. Hey, did you hit him? Did you already forget about the part with the gun and the wooden bullets? Damon asked before Tyler suddenly growled and held his chest before he looked up to the moon. It's starting, Tyler said. Grab Boy Wonder and let's go. Damon said before he walked off, as Caroline helped Matt stand and the three made to follow Damon. Come on, Caroline said. Salvatore's house. Stefan parked his car and got out and opened the door for Elena, who just finishing eating the fruit Naruto gave her. As she got out of the car, she said, thanks for today. Stefan nodded before he suddenly sensed something and stood in front of Elena protectively as he stared at Klaus. You got me all nervous. I thought maybe you'd done something stupid. You ready, my dear? I'm ready, Elena said before she made to go toward him. But Stefan grabbed her arm, keeping her behind him. No, he said, I wouldn't. No reason for you to die, too, Klaus said, before Elena moved in front of Stefan as he kept looking at Klaus. No, Stefan, hey, it's fine, I'll go. No one needs to get hurt. There's no reason for you to get hurt, Elena said before she kissed him. I love you. Stefan looked down at Elena and said, I love you, before they kissed again. Close your eyes, Elena said before he did as he was told, and she let go of his hand before he opened his eyes to see that Klaus and Elena were gone. Moments later, Fan burst through the door of his house to see Alaric. There you are. I got here. The house was empty. Stefan, looking around, asked, where's Damon? The woods. Damon, Caroline, Matt and Tyler were walking. As Tyler was in pain. What's happening? Is he okay? Matt asked. He better not wolf out on us, Damon said before his phone rung and he answered it. Bad time, little bro. What the hell are you doing? Stefan asked. Saving the day. I figured you'd understand. Just tell Elena to stay put, Damon said. She's already gone, Damon, Stefan replied, causing Damon to stop. What? He asked. Klaus came. He took her, Stefan said. I'll take care of it, Damon replied before he hung up just as Tyler clutched his ribs and fell to his knees before he raised his arms as his hands suddenly popped out of place as his wrists broke and repaired themselves. Tyler, panting, looked up to the others and said, I don't know if I can hold it off. You guys have to get out of here. Caroline, stepping forward, said, "Tyler, it'll be okay." Tyler suddenly groaned but managed to yell, "Go. You've got time. We're almost there." Just, Caroline started, but Tyler looked up. His eyes now were yellow, and he suddenly go. Tee up and rushed over toward Caroline, but Damon tackled him. Tyler, above him, started snarling at him before Damon pushed him, but Tyler bit him in the process before Damon stood up. "Damon." "I'm fine," Damon said. "Get out of here," Tyler yelled, momentarily getting control of himself. "Get to the Lockwood cellar. If it held him in, it'll keep him out. If it doesn't, use these," Damon said, handing wooden bullets to Matt. "It won't kill him, but it'll buy you a couple seconds. Go, go." Matt and Caroline ran off before Damon sped away with Naruto. Naruto was walking down the street, going over everything he knew of his god brother. He had a feeling Klaus was going to do something that would devastate everyone. Hearing a noise, Naruto stopped walking and looked down the alleyway to see a blonde woman stumbling around drunk. Smirking, Naruto sped behind the woman, and not waiting for her to notice him, Naruto bit his wrist and grabbed the woman, forced her to drink his blood before he snapped her neck. "Sorry, miss, but I get the feeling that I'll need you tonight," Naruto said before he picked up the woman. Alaric's apartment. Klaus entered the apartment to see Catherine sitting at the table bored as he sat at his laptop. As he hooked his phone to it, before he opened it to see a blonde woman transitioning. "What are you doing?" "Where's Elena?" Catherine asked. "I sent her off with Greta," Klaus said, still looking at the woman whose face could now be seen, and it was shown to be Jules. "It's almost time." Suddenly the door burst open, causing Catherine to look at the door, while Klaus sat back in his chair. "I wasn't aware you'd been invited in." Damon was standing there. As Catherine turned around and stood up from her chair, "I've come here to tell you that you have to postpone the ritual." "Didn't we already have this conversation?" Klaus asked, still not turning toward Damon. "Yeah, but that was before I rescued your werewolf and vampire," Damon retorted. Finally Klaus got up. "Excuse me," he said as he stood face to face with Damon. "And you can kill me for it. I don't care. It was all me," Damon said confidently. Klaus smirked before he said, "Katerina, give us a moment." "Kata." Ryan nodded before she walked off, but looked back at Damon as she left the room. "I've heard about you. The crazy, impulsive vampire in love with his brother's girl. I knew one of you would try to stop me." It was just a 50-50 guess on who. Walking to the laptop, Klaus turns it up, and Jules' screaming could be heard. The nice thing about werewolves is they tend to travel in packs. "Need a closer look." Klaus closed the laptop and took his phone before he tossed it to Damon, who looked at the video. "Jules." Klaus walked back over to Damon. "When you spend 1,000 years trying to break a curse, you learn a thing or two," Klaus said, his voice taking on a darker edge to it. "First rule, always have a backup." "Backup werewolf, backup witch, backup vampire," Damon said, looking back to Klaus. "I've got that covered, too," Klaus said before all Damon knew was darkness. Later, Damon was on the ground unconscious as Catherine gave him some blood from a blood bag and slapped him. "Hey, Damon, hey, Damon." Awaking with a groan, Damon asked, "What the hell happened?" "He's gone. He went to do the ritual." "I'm sorry, I had to. He would have known that I was on Vervain if I didn't do it," Catherine said. Do what?" Damon asked, sitting up. "Klaus. He made me call her to lure her out. He needed another vampire," Catherine said. "Who did you call?" Damon asked, grabbing her arm as he looked away from him. "Who did you call, Catherine?" "Steven's quarry." Elena and Greta were walking in the dark. "Where are we going?" "This way," Greta said. "You're Luca's sister, aren't you? I heard about you. He and your father were looking for you," Elena said. "Well, they were wasting their time. I wasn't lost," Greta replied before Elena tripped on a rock. "God, I can't see anything," Elena complained. With a swipe of her hand, Greta lit up the rocks on the side of the walkway before Elena saw someone on the ground. "Jenna?" she asked before she rushed to her aunt. "Jenna, Jenna. Jenna, hey, Jenna, Jenna." Kneeling beside her, she tried to find a pulse but couldn't. Eyes now tearful, she said, "Oh, my God. No, Jenna, no." Turning to Greta, she said, "He killed her." "Why?" "I did everything that he asked." Suddenly Jenna woke up with a gasp, causing Elena to fall back in shock. Greta, smirking, said, "She's not dead. She's in transition." Alaric's apartment. Damon got up from the floor. "Should have used me. Why didn't he use me?" He said. "He couldn't. Damon, he said you were as good as dead." Catherine said, standing up as well. "What does that even mean?" Damon asked. "What does that mean?" Catherine asked before she rolled up the sleeve of Damon's shirt where Tyler's bite mark could be seen on his forearm. "What is this, Damon?" "It's a werewolf bite," Damon said in shock while Catherine looked up to him in shock. Moments later, Damon was now sitting at the bar, observing the werewolf bite on his inner forearm as Catherine stood over him, also observing the bite. "So that's what a werewolf bite looks like," Catherine said. "Yep." Damon said. "It's not that bad." Catherine said. "Will be," Damon said before he stood up and rolled the sleeve down, covering the bite. "So that's it, you're just going to die?" Catherine asked. "Well, that depends. You know anything about a cure?" Damon asked, looking at her over his shoulder, only for Catherine to shake her head. "Me either." Damon grabbed his jacket off the couch and put it on. 145 years and no last goodbye?" Catherine asked. "You don't get a goodbye," Damon said before he turned away from her, but Catherine vamp sped in front of him, placing her hand on his chest. "No, don't leave mad," she said. "Ascending up on good terms isn't exactly on my bucket list." "Catherine," Damon replied before he attempted to leave again, but she stopped him again. "Klaus made me call Jenna to lure her out. There was nothing that I could do. I didn't have a choice," Catherine said. "That's why I gave you the vervain." "So you had a choice?" Damon replied. "It was her or me. I chose her," Catherine retorted. "I helped you. You owed me. Now when Klaus dies, you're going to walk out of here without a scratch and Alina's aunt dies. Somehow you're the only one that wins. How'd that happen?" "I didn't let love get in the way," Catherine said. "Enjoy an eternity alone, Catherine," Damon said before he walked off. "What are you going to do?" Catherine asked, stopping him. Damon paused before he turned and looked at Catherine. "I'm going to offer myself as a replacement to Klaus," he said. "He won't take you. He saw your bite. He said that your blood is impure." "I'm sorry, Damon, but Jenna's dead. There's nothing you can do about it." Damon looked at her for a moment before he vamp sped away. Quarry. Elena and Jenna were sitting on the ground, as Jenna was clutching at her head. "Oh, my head. What's wrong with me?" Jenna asked. "Do you remember what happened?" Elena asked. "I was waiting on Naruto to come back to the house, then you called me. You were so scared." "Oh, I should have realized that it wasn't you. The second I walked out of the house, someone grabbed me." "A vampire. Klaus." "It was Klaus," Elena said. "He made me drink his blood. And I don't remember anything after that." "Where are we? What happened?" Jenna asked, looking around. "We're at the quarry. He brought us here," Elena said. Jenna placed her hands on the side of her head as she looked down to the ground before she looked up to Elena. "Why don't I remember anything?" she asked. "Jenna, do you remember when I told you how someone becomes a vampire?" Elena asked. "Yeah, if you die with vampire blood in your system, it's..." Jenna paused as realization spread across her face. "Oh, God. He killed me," she whispered hoarsely. "Jenna, listen to me. Listen to me. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to get you out of here," Elena said. "I'm a vampire," Jenna asked. "And I bet you're hungry," Greta said as she approached them, as they looked up at her from their position on the ground. Before Elena saw a sharp rock nearby and rushed to grab it, but, with a wave of her hand, Greta sent Elena flying backwards. Elena landed painfully in the dirt, and when she got back up and rushed toward Jenna, Greta waved her hand again, creating a circle of fire around Elena, causing the girl to stop. "Don't bother trying to get through. I spelled the circle. You're trapped, no matter what you do. Greta, please, just let her go," Elena pleaded. Ignoring Elena's plea, Greta sliced her wrist open with the sharp rock. As blood dripped from her wound, Jenna looked at it. Hungrily, "Klaus chose her," Greta said. "No," Elena said. Greta lowered her wrist toward Jenna. "Drink it," she ordered. "Jenna, don't," Elena yelled. I can't, Jenna said. Let her go. Hey, Elena yelled. Let it Greta only to be ignored as Jenna continued to stare at Rita's bloody wrist and finally sunk her teeth in. No, no, Elena yelled as her eyes glistened with tears, as Jenna closed her eyes as the warm blood entered her mouth. After a few moments, Greta pulled her wrist out of Jenna's grip and Jenna fell to the ground. That's enough, Greta said as she stood up and stepped backwards. Jenna, it's going to be okay, Elena said as Greta flicked her wrist and another circle of fire surrounded Jenna, who retreated from the flames, looking terrified. Look at me. Hey, look at me. Jenna turned her head toward Elena, blood still running down her chin. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, Jenna silently replied. No, as dark veins of hunger creeped toward her eyes. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next part.